First of all, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, inductees, special guests. It gives me a great deal of pride to represent the directors of the Yorkton Sport Hall of Fame this evening at our 8th annual induction dinner and ceremonies. Before I get started, I'm not sure what it is. Before I get up to give my spiels, there's a couple of things I noticed. First of all, Linda comes over here again, and this has happened before, of course, and says, "How long is your speech, Don?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. Guest speaker hasn't arrived and may not even be here." But she says, "Well, I was just wondering, I don't smoke, but I could start," she said. And previous inductees, as they were introduced, certainly appreciate those that are here, but it seems a lot of them are not with us from year to year. And again, I don't know what the cause or the reason for that is. I've only started giving speeches a few years ago, but I think the main reason is, Randy, when did you start as MC?
Last year.
Last year. I think it's been a few years. Seriously, we know that a lot of these people are living in various parts of the country, and certainly we know they also have appreciated their past induction ceremonies. And I'm not sure about these draws. I think it was my idea, but after Dion, my son there, won the first one, he comes over and presents it to Sharon, my wife, and says, "Here's your Christmas present." So I'm not sure if that worked out. Perhaps we'll try something else next year. It's great to see so many of you here, and it's great to see the continued support for our annual induction ceremonies. As mentioned, this is our 8th annual induction dinner, and I think Randy mentioned that after tonight we will have inducted 8 teams and some 48 individuals in some 20 different sports, and in the categories of individual athletes, of course, teams and builders, and I think Dave will be alluding to that in a few minutes. I also know, though, that there's a lot of other people and some in the crowd this evening who are very worthy of being in the Yorkton Sport Hall of Fame. And perhaps someday you will be there, and again, Dave will be explaining the process for that. And we look forward to that. Special welcome, of course, to our inductees. Inductees, this is your night. Enjoy it. Just a bit of background. To those who don't know much about our organization, let me just take a moment. And I know I alluded to that again in the program write-up, but I'd like to remind you of a couple of things. This hall belongs to you, the people of Yorkton. Visit it, learn about it, check it out, be proud of the hall and museum that we do have. There's always room for improvements. The directors certainly admit that, but we do need your help in order to accomplish that. And we feel that we've certainly enriched the history of sport and sport personnel from Yorkton with retaining the hall here. And oh yes, we are always looking for assistance, and directors, we do have a couple of spots open, and I was pleased that already one member from the audience here came up and said, I'm willing to be involved. If there's anyone else, we'd certainly accept that and call you to our next meeting. So thank you, Jerry. I'd also like to remind you about the hall. Sometimes we take it for granted that everyone knows where it is, and yet when we had an open house a couple of weeks ago, I realized that some people really don't know where it's located. So it is located in the old land titles office. If you've checked the display table, I brought the photo down, but that happens to be the photo of the land titles office from 1912. So we're not that old, but certainly that's something the city has accommodated us with, and our hall and museum is located at that building, or in the building. And that's at 3rd and Smith, I guess. And you can access that anytime through the Godfrey Dean Center, or call one of the directors or myself for an appointment to tour the hall. It's always open in that respect. And there is a sign outside as well that was erected a number of years ago. Even though I've been involved with this organization since my induction about 6 years ago, for some time now, I continue to realize that the heart of the organization is volunteers. Like any volunteer organization, a lot of work is required by those involved. And as president, I'd like to personally thank the directors that have spent a lot of time organizing this evening, but also the general business throughout the year. And I think they do appreciate Appreciate the opportunity to be here and serve you, but again, a lot of work goes into it, and certainly I've seen that over the past years. Thank you. Secondly, I'd like to thank the representatives from Sask Sport and the Provincial Hall of Fame. Thank you, Barry, for being with us this evening. Please convey our heartfelt thanks to the provincial organization. Your moral and financial support are certainly appreciated. And I'm not sure where Spencer Graham is. He was the representative to be here for the Sask Sport organization. I think perhaps he stopped at the Waverley at Slow Helens in Melville. Maybe he's getting more than a free meal there, I'm not sure. But seriously, we take these organizations for granted. I think that went by most people except the Terriers over here. So we sometimes take these people for granted, but certainly we appreciate the support from the provincial organizations. Again, a special thanks, although Randy will be mentioning these, but certainly on behalf of the directors, the City of Yorkton, for providing us a home on 3rd Avenue, the media, thank you for your coverage, Access Communications, our sponsors, and all of the rest of the people that Randy mentioned. And then there's Randy himself, our MC for this year and for the last number of years. He continues to amaze me. He volunteers his time year after year, never complains, does our video interviews, which take some time and organization. And who else can BS as much as Linus Westberg, brag as much as the old-time Terriers or the senior Terriers, make up stories to entertain us as good as any guest speaker, run up a tab like no other at the bar, and still come out smiling like a rose. Seriously, Randy, I think I'd like to take this opportunity for your special contribution to the hall and to our ceremonies over the last number of years. Thank you. To the inductees, congratulations again. Be proud of your achievements, young or old. Let your head swell just a touch tonight, and not from the bar, but from the honor of being, or the honor that's being bestowed on you this evening. I'm sure you will enjoy the camaraderie of friends that you're meeting here this evening, or just old teammates as much as the recognition itself. But also remember that your contributions to the sporting community of Yorkton, the reputation you have made for yourself or your team from bygone years, the prominence you have brought to the city of Yorkton is something we honor and remember here this evening. It may not seem like a big deal, but often it's the little things in life that count. And tonight we honor the medals you've won, the goals you've scored, the spikes and digs you've made, the races you've won, the high average scores, the dives that scored highly, the laps that you've practiced. But as inductees, I want you to remember that during your glory days, and this still holds true for many of you who are actively engaged in athletics today, that you were true role models as well for many others that watched you, whether it was on the ice or the bowl arena or the court or in the pool or on the track. There were, and there continue to be, a lot of people in the community, young and old, who do use you as a role model. Your performance and your personal demeanor as an athlete has inspired, whether you realize it or not, even in the corners of the rink, have inspired many, many people, many others to dream a bit, practice hard, and aspire to greater heights, whether that be in your chosen sport or their chosen sport or in life in general. And this is something I believe that sometimes we forget to honor when we recognize our inductees. To me, this is part of what makes our inductees truly hometown heroes. To those of you who no longer live in Yorkton, and I know some of you have grown up here and others have not, let me suggest that you also take pride in your roots, the grassroots, if you're from Yorkton, and if not, then those grassroots someplace else. Be proud of your individual accomplishments, but also remember those who helped shape your success. Athletes are not islands unto themselves. And certainly to all of the teams being inducted this evening, this particularly holds true for you, I believe. Great teams are made of great athletes, but at the same time, the importance of coaches, assistant coaches, managers, Trainers, scouts, executives cannot be underestimated. And yes, even parents and fans are often critical to the success of teams and individuals. So hopefully somewhere along the line you'll have a chance to thank these people if you haven't already done so over the years. And I'm sure they will appreciate your comments as well. I'm almost finished. Linda, Jody said something about going for wine if I get too long here, but he's already had 3 bottles there. So, if you notice on the display tables, we tried to put up as much information as we could or we received from the various individuals and groups, and we would certainly ask you or remind you to submit memorabilia or any other sporting information that you might have from the years that you were inducted or your careers. That will be placed in the hall. And the volleyball people did that, as well as some of the hockey teams and other individuals. There are handouts available there. You may have noticed them on the tables. However, I must apologize. There's a couple of spelling errors there, hopefully nothing too serious, in the volleyball write-ups. And also I missed one important person, and that was Robbie Pashishnik. So if you're looking for a write-up on Robbie, it's not there because we forgot to put it in. But I think what happened, Robbie, was one of 2 things. And I have to tell this story because the other day I took my brother up to the hospital for some tests, and he went through the tests. They're all recorded, given to the nurse. The next day they call him back for the same tests. The results just disappeared into thin air. So Robbie, I think my secretary was off and working for the East Central Administration during the time she was to be doing your report. I'm not sure. So sometimes things just happen like that. But more seriously and most likely, Robbie forgot to submit his report and knew he would get some special attention this evening. And I used to officiate, of course, and Robbie was always one who made special effort to get my special attention on the court, so maybe he's still into that. But we do apologize, Robbie, and I'd very briefly like to add this to the resumes there. Robbie's 35, residing in Saskatoon, working for the Zepp Company, married to Lisa with 2 children, played Midget, All-Star, 89 All-Star Juveniles, University of Saskatchewan, silver medalist, CIU's National Gold CIU Championships, Canada Games Gold Medal, Provincial Champions, 82, 85, coaching at the U of S as assistant coach from 89 to 92, and presently assistant coach with the women's team, or at least the last 3 years, 98 to 2000. As many of our volleyball players, Robbie was one of the best at his position in Canada and played on many of those gold medal teams. So.
The order that we're going to do the inductees, we just introduce the inductees, then we have a video presentation, and you can sort of turn to one of the sets that's closest to you in the 4 corners and view it. Then I'll read the citation, and then the person comes up and gets their plaque and is inducted into the hall. So at this time, we would like to honor John Loster.
He bowled, he was on the executive of the Yorkton 5-pin, he was on the executive of the league, and he was involved in the zone. He became more active later.
Yeah, that's in the 80s when you met. You married in 87?
87, yeah.
And his bowling at that time, did it include coaching? Was he doing that then, or would this come a little later?
No, he was coaching quite heavily at that time with the YBC, the Youth Bowling Council in Yorkton, and he would coach the kids every Saturday, and then when their tournaments came up, he would take them out of town and coach them there.
And he coached all ages?
All ages, yeah. He coached the Golden Agers. If they had a tournament to go out, he would take them and go, and he coached in the zone, and he would coach just our local adult bowlers.
I can remember from, time we were little kids, if we weren't at the bowling alley in the summer, we were at the golf course and, as well.
What about John? Do you remember when he kind of got going into bowling, when he picked the ball up?
I vividly remember one incident when he was in high school that he was asked to do a presentation to his English class. And he wrote down the most meticulous report that probably was ever presented about bowling, how you sand the lanes and how many steps you take and when you release the ball and those kind of things. And that was in the late 60s. And that bowling was in his blood then, and it just carried on right through until he passed away.
No truth to the rumor that the teacher of that class took that technical expertise and became a provincial champ, eh?
Oh, there was truth
Probably.
to that.
That he would do that. That wasn't surprising for him. He began to, you could see it,
Yeah.
that he had a real passion for the game.
Yeah.
And Glenda, obviously, you lived that with him. I mean, his passion for bowling went a long way, didn't it?
Yes, it did, yeah.
What would have been his best desire in the sport? Did he like the competition of playing or the teaching and passing on what he knew?
A little of both, but probably more so the teaching and passing on what he knew, and to just better the people he was teaching and help them to achieve their goals.
He was a left-handed bowler.
Yes, he was.
There
Yeah.
wasn't many of them.
No.
So he
No.
probably got ribbing for that.
Oh yeah, all the
Until
time.
he started knocking
yeah.
all the pins down.
Yeah, yeah.
And that ended in a hurry. You remember any specific times he participated, certainly at zone, regionals or provincial, certainly a number of times, and obviously you must have been on the road with him a number of times.
Yeah.
As a competitor, did he change? Does he zero in? Can you talk to him before a competition? Were you able to do that? Or
Definitely. That was one thing with John. One of his favorite sayings was, a good bowler wouldn't let that bother them. Some bowlers have to, like, don't talk to me when I'm up on the lane, or, I mean, you shouldn't anyways, but, don't bug me before, and they're off in the corner, and they're just really concentrating, got their head in the game. John would be off in the corner laughing or whatever, and when it was his turn to bowl, he would get up and bowl, because, like I said, his favorite saying was, wouldn't let it bother a good bowler.
he had a lot of success in bowling. I mean, when he got to the provincial level, there's some pretty stiff competition. I mean, bowling remains to this day a pretty popular sport, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Did you get to kick his butt a few times?
No, I didn't get to compete with him on the lanes. No.
No.
I'm not in that caliber.
Did you get into mixed competitions?
No, just when we just bowled at home in our own league, then I would compete against him, but I didn't even bother competing against him because I couldn't. John averaged probably 225 and plus for his bowling career, and it's in the top 10% of Canada to have a 225 and plus average. At the time of his passing, he was the president of Saskatchewan 5-pin. He had just become president in the 98-99 season. The Nationals, the Canadian Nationals, were in Regina that year, May 25th. Rick Schaefer, a good friend of ours from Melville, him and I took John and we made up a bed in the van and we took him to Regina. And we had him in his wheelchair because, of course, he was only a month away from passing away. And we took him in his wheelchair and we wheeled him in, and he got a standing ovation, and there was tears. And, I mean, he knew a lot of these people because he had been to nationals. He goes to the national meetings. He knew a lot of the people, and they knew him. And it was a very touching moment. But it was also a passion of his, or a desire that, like, he wanted to be at the nationals, and it was very fortunate for us that they were in Regina and not some other province in Canada, that we were able to take him there. And it was a great peace of mind for him to be able to attend that function.
What do you think, Glenda, he would say that upon hearing that John Loster is a Yorkton Sports Hall of Famer?
Knowing John, tears would come to his eyes, first of all. When the Bowling Federation of Saskatchewan found out that John was sick, they came down to see him, and the first thing that they said was they wanted to have a John Loster Memorial Award. So they went and talked to him in the hospital about it. They let him know that this is what they wanted to do. And John was very touched, and John was a very humble man, and he didn't, how can I say it, he didn't boast or brag or whatever of any
They
achievements
didn't
that he
do
had.
it for recognition.
No, no. And he was very touched that the Bowling Federation of Saskatchewan, along with the Saskatchewan 5-pin, was going to set up a John Loster Memorial Award, which will be handed out every year from now until the end of time, in his honor. Before John passed away, he asked me to carry on his legacy. And I feel that the John Loster Memorial Award is a big part of that. Being inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame is another big part of that. And it makes me feel good inside that, yes, like he's being recognized, and he's going to be known, who he was and what he did and what he accomplished in his short life.
John Loster excelled in the sport of bowling as a competitor, a coach, and an administrator. Over his 27 years in the sport, he won numerous medals, trophies, and awards at local, provincial, and national levels. However, John's true legacy is probably best summed up by the following quote taken from his nomination papers. John put far more into bowling than he ever received. This, however, is not how he would see it, for he, in his own humble way, did not covet the awards that were given him. He simply wanted to help. His involvement in the sport was truly a reflection of who he was as a person. His sense of community, his humor, and his humanity all found expression within the sport. His fondest memories were not of pins knocked down, but people built up. In April of 2000, the John Loster Memorial Trophy was established and is given to the volunteer who gave most of their time and effort. John passed away on June 21st, 1999, after a brief but courageous battle with cancer. He is truly missed. At this time, I'd like to call up Glenda Loster to receive the plaque to have John inducted into the Yorkton Sports Hall of Fame. Glenda?
I won't make this very long, but just very quickly, in addition to Glenda and Shirley's presentation, and if you look through the names of the inductees that have already been inducted into the hall, two words to me come to mind, and that is passion and humble. John possessed both of those. And if you're wondering why I have a hockey stick up here with me, I have two very short stories to tell. As John's days were nearing their end, each one of us were asked if there was something that we would like of John's that we could remember him by. And I had asked for his bowling shirt, because John's passion for bowling, the seed was planted at an early age by our father, who spent many hours at the bowling alley, who in turn took John with him, who John in turn took his children with him, and they continue to bowl. And although most of us have pretty much given the sport up, the four Loster boys also took the field in slow pitch for a very brief time. So I had asked for John's bowling shirt, which is in my own personal little Hall of Fame in the basement of Sharon's and my house. And I was this close to bringing it this evening to donate it to the hall, but I definitely, on word of honor, will do that at a later time. I also asked John to keep his eye out for me, which he has proven that he has done and continues to do. We had initially set the wheels in motion for John's induction last year, but thanks to the post office, that just didn't occur.
Aren't you a letter carrier?
No, that's that other guy who looks like me. But even though maybe there was some intervention, because the reason I have this hockey stick is thus. In 1969, my sisters babysat for Terry Grindle of the Terriers. And Shirley brought me home an autographed stick by the Yorkton Terriers, which lasted about 2 weeks. And Brother Len and I were at St. Mary's School playing shinny, and I was told not to take the stick, but because I knew better, I took it, thus no stick. So what I am asking the Terriers that are here, I have a pen and a stick. And thanks to Dave Barron and the people who nominated John, I have a stick now that is going into my basement Hall of Fame. Thank you all very much. On behalf of our whole family, thank you for this.
We'd now like to call on the induction of Gail Harris Williams.
Gail, when you heard that you had been inducted into the Yorkton Sports Hall of Fame, and I guess you got it by email?
Yes.
We first heard. So you're reading it, and you're thinking what?
Well, I was thinking, first of all, who is this from? Because I wasn't too sure. And then I had to read. It took a few times reading because it came to my work, so I wasn't prepared to be in that frame of mind. And then I realized it was from Dave Barron, and read it through. And at first, it was, to be honest, I really didn't know what the Hall of Fame was, and or even I knew what the Hall of Fame was, but I wasn't aware that Yorkton had one. So I had to read it a few times, and of course my mother called me and we talked about it, and at first it was surprise, I guess, after all these years to be contacted, and just to get back in that mindset, and then definitely an honor. From what I understand, I'm lucky I'm going to be going on a tour shortly with Don Pfeiffer. He's meeting me. We're going to go take a look around. But there's not a lot of women that have been inducted into Hall of Fame, so that's always been one of my goals, to inspire younger girls coming up and into whether it's track or any other sports. So as a woman, it's a great honor, for sure.
Athletics, obviously, and sports in general became a part of your life, I'm sure, initially in going to school.
Definitely starting from as early as first grade, we had gold excellent tests, and we would do all these shuttle runs and different things like that. So I started all the way through there, and probably fifth grade is really when I really got involved in track, for sure.
Track became, as a 10-year-old, then you become involved. Was it that you knew yourself that you were pretty good at this? You were beating kids, or was it coaches going, hey, we should maybe do running a little bit more than volleyball, figure skating, whatever? Yeah,
probably a bit of both. I mean, I was doing very well. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I would have pursued it to the degree without the help of the coaches. We had a strong coaching and track-oriented program.
Which hasn't changed a lot. There still is that here, but I mean, Legion track, you were involved in that tournament or that competition, which continues to this day. And obviously teachers were involved as coaches, and I'm sure some of those had a pretty big influence in your life as a young person taking up the sport.
Definitely. There's so many people to mention. I hate to forget anybody, but starting from fifth grade, Ron Erickson was my fifth grade teacher, and if he's listening, thank you very much. I never really thanked him, but he was tough, but he was a big influence in getting me involved at the fifth grade level. And then we used to meet twice a week at Simpson School back then, and we used to run up and down the hallway really fast, back and forth. And along with Ron, there was Les Harris and Len Bodie were big factors in coaching at that time, definitely.
When did it become that the 400 was going to be something that you would excel at? I mean, you got into running because it was great to run fast, I'm sure.
Yes. If I would have known at that time how painful workouts would have become later, I never would have done it. So I was eased in the right way. We just did short, painless, fast workouts and had a lot of fun.
You never did long distance?
Never.
Yuck.
Yuck, yeah.
The 400 became something that, you excelled at? You had the long stride? I mean, what exactly was a measurement to go that you're not really a 200, you're not a sprinter, you don't want to get into the mile, but here's a nice little...
Well, I did well provincially, even to a degree nationally, in the 100 provincially. Nationally, I did fairly well 200, but to go beyond international, I just wasn't competitive enough in the 1 and 2. So at that time when I was running I was still running in high school, but then I moved over to Calgary to run for the Spartans. I moved up and did the 400, and I didn't want to do it, but my coach at that time said, that's your event, and he pushed me to do it, and it was very painful. I didn't ever want to do it again. I still remember that race to this day, but my times were good. So.
And who was the coach who pushed you into that?
Well, high school, Dave Barron definitely was, without a doubt, a huge factor, and Joy Bielick at the time was helping coach as well in middle school. But Dave was, I would say, coaching-wise, the biggest factor in my life through then. And then I moved on to the Calgary Spartans, which I ran for John Cannon, and pursued 400 and eventually into the 800. My mother and father always supported me from early figure skating days. You talk about getting up early. Track was nothing compared to figure skating. I remember getting up in those freezing cold mornings at 4:35 in the a.m., getting dressed over the register, and my mother out making a hot breakfast and getting me out the door. Hurry up, Gail, get ready out the door. From anything from, getting me up early in the morning to when I started competing in track to making sure I had a home-cooked meal, and I went to my track practice, healthy and eating well and hydrated, to making sure I had enough money in my pockets to go to Regina or Saskatoon for the trip, to coming and watching all the meets, supporting the meets if they could be there, if they were international, far away. They were always watching on TV, videotaping. I mean, they have everything videotaped. I don't even have. So, to buying me my first pair of shoes, to always being sure I had proper shoes and training shoes and spikes. And it was, without a doubt, they were the largest fan club and largest support. Thanks, Mom and Dad, and my sisters, Joanne and Donna. The Legion Track Club, I haven't mentioned that, and as I was growing up, they were a huge part of supporting the track club, and as well as me individually, there was some funding, a lot of funding I know that they put into my career, and I couldn't have gone to any of those meets and probably even been there without their support. So to be a part of that, and then to bring it all home, and to be here, it's just a great honor to be a female athlete inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Gail Harris Williams. From a very young age, Gail was involved in a broad spectrum of sports. The list included figure skating, badminton, volleyball, and basketball. She soon realized that her real love was track and field. While at Yorkdale Junior High, the regional high school, and as a member of the Yorkton Legion Track Club, Gail represented Yorkton throughout Saskatchewan and across Canada. After graduation, Gail moved to Calgary to train with the Calgary Spartans Track Club. Improved training and coaching soon catapulted her on the international scene, where she represented Canada all over the world. Her travels included the Bahamas, the USA, Japan, Israel, Poland, Britain, and Yugoslavia. The highlight of her career was a bronze medal at the 1990 Commonwealth Games in Auckland, New Zealand. Gail's talent eventually earned her an athletic scholarship to Boston College. There she completed her degree and track career in 1993. Gail's talent and passion for track and field led to success at all levels. At various times, she held over 30 records at the local, provincial, and national level. A number of these records still stand to this day. Gail now lives in Massachusetts. Her time is divided between her husband, Rob, her son, Kason, and her job as activity coordinator at an Arnold Palmer golf course. At this time, I would like to call on her mother, Lorraine, as Gail is not able to be with us tonight. She's at home expecting her second child. And we decided between Donnie and Lorraine was the better looking one to come up to the podium. So Lorraine, would you like to come up and have your daughter inducted? Thanks, Lynn. This time I'd like to ask to view the video for Michael Bidnock.
born in Saskatchewan, but as a teenager, your family moved out to Eastern Canada. But when did you first become associated, I guess, with swimming?
In North Battleford, when we lived in North Battleford, I started swimming there, and then I was determined to be a swimmer. So I was a skinny little thing, and little short, and they seen my progress was that good at the pool that they said, how about going to Saskatoon to the Avenue H swimming pool down by the Saskatchewan River and swim for North Battleford with the rest of the boys. I said, sure, you know. And of course, we were very poor. I had an old woolen bathing, moth-eaten bathing suit, and we went to Saskatoon, and so I had my first race, and I seen this fellow next to me who was much taller than I am, and he had racing suit, silk, you know, the one full suit like you've seen in pictures in the. And I said, "Uh-oh, I'm up. What am I up against?" Like, you know. But once we started, I hit the water. He was smelling my feet all the way.
What got you into swimming? I mean, why? What drew you to the sport, to swimming, diving?
Well, I like sports all around, and I felt that with a little bit of effort, I could do good with it. So I just, mostly because I maybe a sort of, we just say, a sort of a show-off, or I wanted to be better than the next person. And that's what mostly brought me into it.
How old were you when you got into the pool?
First it was 11, and then 12 was my first swimming meet.
Did you have good coaching back then?
No
People
coaching.
Talk about that now? No?
No coaching at all. Even through the Navy. We had a coach in the Navy, Trepanier. Sorry about it, he passed away already, but he was, we were there just to organize the swim team. But we didn't have no chance for training or anything because we're out at sea a lot of times, and then the ship would come in and they'd say, well, Mike, you better get yourself into shape. You got 3 days. So get in shape and go into, well, we didn't call it get in shape, but do the best we can and go into a meet. And most cases we did well as a team.
Kind of would put the term on you, the natural. I mean, without coaching and to excel the way you did, obviously you had an immense talent in the water.
Not only in the water, but I think I had the ability in any sport. I was, to me, in my mind, I was sort of above average than the average fellow.
You played whatever you could in sports.
I played everything, and I've won trophies and everything. I won trophies in basketball, and I was a goalie in hockey, and track and field. I was usually pretty good on the track and field.
You still swim a lot?
Well, once I start in the fall, I swim 100 lengths every day.
100 lengths every day?
A mile and a half, plus 4 lengths.
Daily?
Daily.
At the Agriplex?
Yep.
Yeah. And also, we should point out, when the Agriplex opened in the mid-'70s, you were a big part of that, the pool.
Yeah, I did some exhibition diving, roughly some exhibition diving.
What drew you with diving? What was it? Just the artistic part of that, the twist, the turn? I mean, you were a great swimmer. Now you begin diving too.
Diving as well, yes, because well, we had to in diving you have to put it into 5 categories. There's and your first would be the compulsory 5 categories, which is a forward dive, a reverse dive, a backward dive, a twist, inward dive. That's a 5. And then you'd have to do 5 more after that, but have a degree of difficulty in each one of those groups.
Your athletics, you talked about baseball, softball, golf, track and field. You've pretty much won at all levels, haven't you?
Yes, most of them.
So sport is more than just a love and something you do leisurely. Obviously, there's a pretty strong competitive instinct in my Bidnock.
Yeah, there is, because I always had that. I got to be I got to be the best or the better than the next guy.
You won a lot of trophies.
Yeah.
A lot of ribbons, a lot of medallions, I'm sure. And then took it upon yourself to donate a lot of that, haven't you?
And I donated, yes, over 100 trophies to the Ability Center here in Yorkton.
Just couldn't keep them on your shelf anymore.
No, probably. Well, I keep a few, just the main ones, like I have the gentleman's swim with the Cunard steamship line in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. We swam in the harbor, and I won that championship. I won that race, and they presented me with a fair-sized trophy, and then there's a lot of other events that.
Is there any specific event you remember? Obviously, this covers a long period of time, but certain maybe events you won or different times of your life that you remember standing out for athleticism that you were involved with, or certain races that really have a strong memory for you?
Not really. They were all good memories for me, because as long as I won, I was happy. And
Go ahead, Mike. Sorry about that.
well, I was happy as long as I won, but if I didn't win, I was just as happy. But I was always determined to win.
Sort of the sign of a good champion, isn't it? Doesn't matter if you win and lose or until you lose. Mike wanted to win. That was good. Although proficient in any one of a number of sports, it was at the swimming pool that Mike really excelled. In 1948, 1954, and 1958, Mike was the 1 meter and 3 meter Nova Scotia diving champion. In 1958 and 59, he won the 3 meter diving championship for all of the Maritimes. At the same Maritime Championship, he won the 50 meter freestyle, and in doing so, set a record that stands to this day. His prowess in and around the pool earned him an invitation to the 1951 Pan Am Games. Unfortunately, due to naval commitments, he was unable to attend. Over the years, Mike took up and succeeded in a number of other sports, including fastball, track and field, bowling, and golf. His over 100 trophies are a testament to his skill in these endeavors. Eventually, Mike returned to his first love, the swimming pool. In 1998, he set new masters provincial records for 75 to 79-year-olds in the 25 meter, 50 meter, 100 meter, and 1400 meter. These records were no accident. Every day from October to April, Mike swims 100 laps in the Agriplex pool. Mike and his wife Helen live in Yorkton, where he's a very active member of the local Royal Canadian Legion. Mike's career is still not done. Even now, he is planning his assault on the 80-plus master's age category. At this time, I would like to call Mike Bidnock up to be inducted into the Yorkton Sports Hall of Fame. Mike? The way he hopped up on the stage, I think he could play goal for the Yorkton Terriers anytime, you guys.
Is that a slam?
No. No, that is just pretty much a statement. I'll see when you guys bounce up here how fast you jump up on the stage.
They need a step.
They need a step. We're moving the step in, Ken, for you. Your friend Gary Fletcher, Mike, was asking how come he's never been inducted into the Yorkton Sports Hall of Fame, and I said because he's not good in anything. And he said he's really going to try harder because he golfs a lot, but we know he's not going to go in on that, and we certainly know he's not going to go in on hockey, and his bridge is mediocre. So you just keep working, Gary, because the age limit just goes on. There's no age limit to this. You can still be inducted at 108, so you try again next year, Gary. We just haven't found a category for Gary yet. At this time, we'd like to see the video for the Yorkton Volleyball Club's Juvenile and Midget men's teams.
Well, it's quite an honor because there's a lot of very good athletes, coaches, and teams around the Yorkton area. There always has been. So for a group to be considered, and myself one of the initial ones as a coach, and then to have teams come back in several years later, that is quite an accomplishment and quite an honor for both myself and the players that are involved and their parents.
1982 teams, a couple of them that you have nominated. You're coaching at the high school level, but first of all, how is it that the Midget Max and the Juvenile Max came about? There was just more opportunity for kids to play volleyball?
It's a club called the Yorkton Max. Initially it was just called the Yorkton Volleyball Club. Max came on a little bit later thanks to Bill and Judy Oliver and helping out the program. In 1981, a number of players, the Stebners, the Gavlises, and so on like that, wanted to play more. The parents got together and were very active and very supportive, and we started a club in 1981. We didn't do so well. We fundraised to go to national championships in Newfoundland, had all the money there, and didn't qualify. So then the parents made a decision that instead of splitting the money up, they would continue on the following year, and everything just seemed to go from there. In those days, there were very few midget men's teams in Saskatchewan. And we played some tournaments in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, and off we went to the Midget Western Canadian Championship in Winnipeg. Here we were, none of us had ever been at a championship before. The first time playing against clubs that were drawn from the entire city of Winnipeg,
That you
Edmonton.
had never played. I mean, you're
That's
not
right.
familiar
We
with
played
that
individual
competition.
teams, yes, but not the huge club teams. And in that tournament, we started off slow. We started to improve. The players were probably one of the most intense group that has ever come out of here. They basically wanted to do well.
And these are young boys.
And they're very young boys.
Very driven.
And we had a grade 8 player on the team, Dion Pfeiffer, all the way up to grade 10s. We were the only team that had any grade 8s on it. We had grade 9s. I don't think we had that many grade 10s. Robbie Posichnik was the captain and the leader, the setter, one of the main attackers. Basically was doing everything. But we did well in the tournament and qualified for the playoffs. And from then on, we were on a roll.
When you had your juvenile team that same year in 1982, the other team were inducting here. There were some of the midget players, a couple or three that also played on the juvenile team. And take me through some of this club. You talked about your midget team being one of the most driven individually as athletes, and these guys are 15 and under. Some comparisons you can make between that midget team to the juvenile team. They're maybe different individuals, but a driven group too?
As a group, they were very similar. They were also very driven, very intense about playing volleyball and wanting to be successful. They'd been successful in high school. As high school players, they'd won the provincial championships in both 81 and 82. They were wanting to succeed. Again, it was a group that was first time at a national championship. Things came together very well for them. We got a few breaks, as you know you have to in national type competition in order to be successful. We were playing, again, centers that were much bigger than Yorkton.
Was Yorkton known at the national level by then? You had won some provincial championships or not?
It was
really?
just starting to come into play, and I think that was the first for Yorkton on the national scene for volleyball. It was also the first for Saskatchewan.
You guys had an ability to win. How were you able to get that through your teams? Does success winning breed winning?
It does, but you have to get there first. Both players and coaches and parents need to know what it takes to win. Winning, you've heard the quote that winning isn't everything. And that's true, it's not. But winning is what everybody wants to do. Winning is what makes things fun. It's no fun if you're losing all the time. But both coaches and players and even the parents have to learn what it takes to win. It's not easy. There is a price that has to be paid, and every one of those three groups has to be willing to pay the price. For players, it's giving things up, making sacrifices, attending practices, week in and week out, day in and day out. For the parents, driving the players to the practices, being there when they're overtime in the gym. And that was one of the things that I fell into many times, was practices lasted a long time. And for a coach, yeah, there are things that you have to sacrifice, that you have to put into it in order to win.
The Yorkton Volleyball Club teams have had great deal of success over the years. The 1982 version of both Midget and Juvenile divisions are a great example of this success. The Midget team won the provincial title and also the Western Canadian Championships held in Winnipeg. For midgets aged 15 and under, this was the highest level of competition available. The Juvenile Max team won the provincial championship and went on to place second, winning the silver medals at the Canadian finals in Saskatoon. Of interest would be the fact that the Yorkton Volleyball Club also produced a senior men's Western Canadian silver medalist team coached by Lawrence Wagner the very same year. Looking at both the midget and juvenile teams being inducted this evening, we can see a lot of similarities. Both teams were coached by the mastermind volleyball coach Dennis Pomeroy. Both were part of an extended era of successful volleyball teams that continue to put Yorkton on the map as a hot spot for volleyball throughout Canada. Both were renowned for their high level of skill and technique, contributed to the very successful junior high programs in the city, the many local coaches who contributed to the sport at the school and club level, and more specifically to the commitment and technical expertise of Coach Pomeroy. Both were highly respected and feared for their cool hand-Luke approach to the game on the court, and for their constant ability to come back and win when the chips were down. Many of the players from these teams continued to hone their abilities in volleyball. Many won Most Valuable Player awards. Some were invited to provincial and national elite team training camps, and many continued to play on teams that won medals at not only high school competitions, but also age class, junior and senior level, club ball, and university. A number of these players were on the 1985 and 1987 Canada Games team for Saskatchewan, both teams winning gold. Rob Pashishnik and Mark Stebner in 1985, and Dion Pfeiffer, Alan Tkach, Mark Stebner, Brent Brzezinski, Travis Cook, Conley Pura, Darren Tonight, and Brad Surgic in 1987. The Max Club president in 1982 was Harvey Stebner. The prime fundraising venue for these teams came through bingos sponsored at PK Bingo Palace. Certainly the players, the parents, and the community are proud of the many fine accomplishments of these players. Interesting highlights of team members include the fact that at the 1982 Juvenile Nationals, Ward Stebner and Brian Gavlis made the All-Star team. At the Midgets, Ron Parchomchuk was chosen Most Valuable Player, and Robbie Pashishnik was named to the All-Star team. Robbie and Ron, along with teacher Blaine Tendler, played on both Midget and Juvenile teams. Brian Gavlis is now head coach of the University of Saskatchewan Huskies and has taken a year off to coach in Germany. Blaine Tendler coaches at Drake University in the United States. Players that went on to play at the university level include Brian Gavlis, Rob Pashishnik, Dion Pfeiffer from the University of Saskatchewan, Blaine Tendler and Scott Boris, University of Regina, Ward Stebner, University of Manitoba. Detailed player profiles are available under separate cover on the side table, compliments of the players and volleyball club. Every player being inducted tonight continued to find success at every level of volleyball competition they played at in later years. No doubt the success they experienced in 1982 played a large part. Congratulations to all. At this time, I'd like to call on Coach Dennis Pomeroy, a 1994 recipient of the Yorkton's Ball of Fame for excellence in coaching of volleyball, to introduce his team and to have the team inducted into the Yorkton Sports Hall of Fame. Dennis?
Thank you, Linda. It's my honor to introduce the teams, the players on the two teams tonight. And I've learned through long experience with Linda, I don't make any other comments because she always has the last word. I'll begin with the midget team. First of all, Colin Malischuk. Paul Procession. Dion Pfeiffer. Robbie Pasishnik. Greg Pachomchuk. Ron Pachomchuk. Edward Mark. And representing Blaine Tendler, who is coaching at Drake University, is Sister Darla. And not in attendance tonight were Scott Boris and Fred Dion. This was the midget team who were the gold medal champions from the Western Canada Championships in 1982. I'll now call on the members of the silver medal winning team from the 1982 Canadian Juvenile Championships, and you'll see that there are 2 or 3 players that are repeated. First of all, I'll begin with Ward Stebner. Brad Redicott. Grant Dusher. Ron Pachomchuk. Robbie Pasishnik. Brian Gavlis is currently coaching a professional team in Germany, and he's represented tonight by his mother and dad. Shirley or Bob, would one of you please come up and accept this for him? And Tim Johnson. Not able to be here tonight were Glenn Gibson, Ian McKay, and Mike Lackmanic. While Don and Dave are presenting the plaques, it was reminded to me today that this was the first Saskatchewan men's volleyball team to ever make a playoff at a Canadian Championship, let alone a second-place finish. And secondly, in the tournament, they were called the come-from-behind kids because they lost the first game in every single game. The first set in every single game they played, except the final. Unfortunately, they won the first game in that set and lost the match. The 1982 silver medalists from the Canadian Volleyball Championships.
Video for the 1969-70 Yorkton Senior Terrier Hockey team.
When we look back on it, it's probably one of the few times that the Yorkton Terriers were capable of putting out a full squad of players. We were always one or two players short. We'd be short playing with 3 defensemen or maybe 8 forwards or 6 forwards. And the 69-70 team was one of the few years that we were able to dress a full team for the full season, just short one on playing goal. And that's the year that we picked up Dwight Burchell to fill in when we went into the interprovincial playdowns.
Merv, when did you come to play with the Senior Terriers? And from where?
I returned back to Yorkton in '65, and I was suspended for a couple of years due to the situation of turning back amateur. So I got playing with them in '67, I believe it was, and then played through till senior hockey had stopped in Yorkton and junior hockey began. So I started '67, played to '71.
There was always strong teams, wasn't it? In Yorkton, Merv?
Those 4 years were here. We had excellent teams. World Hockey had started. I knew a lot of the players that played in World Hockey, and I said we weren't very many players away from being pretty close to those teams at the time. We had a good, aggressive club, and an average age was there. Like I said, we weren't far. We had an excellent hockey club in those days.
Colsey, when did you start playing?
I got here, I believe, 64, 65, Randy. I just finished my junior hockey career in Moose Jaw with the Canucks. I had a short stint down in the East Coast League for a cup of coffee, and then they brought me into Yorkton to play, and then I ended up playing here till the end of the senior term.
Not only were you guys with a pretty strong club, but I think it was a pretty good senior league back then too, wasn't it?
It was. Saskatoon always was a top team, and of course Moose Jaw had a very good hockey club. Regina, there was good rivalry with only 4 or 5 teams in the league. And when we expanded into Alberta, then there was also the Edmonton and the Calgarys and the Drumhellers, which made it quite exciting. However, that expansion ended up costing the league because we couldn't afford to travel to those places.
Barry Ross, number 7 in the program. All the hardware you've won. When did you come back to play with the Terriers, Barry?
About '67, I think I'd come back. I played in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and we won everything. But they were moving me around quite a bit the last few years, so I kind of disheartened. And then Marty Lockhart and Vern Ball got a hold of me and brought me down here and wanted me to be playing coach. But that year I was drafted by Toronto, and I was suspended, so instead of being playing coach, I was the manager and saved the team many dollars.
I think it was about '62, Randy. I came from
Omaha Knights International League. Got there through Denver. Played for about a year and a half there. Got cut in January. Walker was up here at that time coaching.
Jerry Walker.
Yeah, so I got a hold of Jerry and got here. Thank goodness.
It was a long history of senior hockey in Yorkton, but was that, and I've likened the Yorkton Senior Terriers to kind of like the city's team. I mean, there were always a lot of people at the games, and they attracted to the Senior Terriers. Was that as good a stretch as senior hockey's ever seen in this city, Jerry? The fact that the Terriers were running through the 60s into the 70s and always seemed to be in the hunt?
Well, when we look back on it, Randy, the players that were with the Yorkton Senior Hockey Club in that time, in those days, there was only Tier 1 junior hockey. All of the players that played for the Terriers had played junior hockey. A lot had come back from the pros, so there was a lot of experience. We have to remember there wasn't that many junior hockey teams, plus the senior hockey teams there was very few of. The Western Pro Hockey League had folded, so the main hockey in Western Canada, other than Junior A at that time, was senior hockey with the Western International League. Of course, Alberta was just with Calgary and Edmonton. Saskatchewan, we had Saskatoon, Regina, Moose Jaw, Yorkton, and Winnipeg usually just had the two teams out of there. War Road played, and St. Boniface. So the hockey that the fans were getting in those days was what we would class, I think, excellent hockey. Yorkton, as small as it was, we were always competitive and capable of bringing hockey players into Yorkton because they enjoyed coming here. They could have a future here if they looked at getting employment. Most of them had their turns down in the International or the Eastern League and were looking for a place to settle down, raise their families.
Was he that well spoken when it came to the dressing room pep talks, Merv, as the coach? I understand that if you want editing, that would be the place you wanted to go.
He was aggressive, all right, but we still respected him and always went out there and tried our best, the team did, and I may say we were very successful with this group of people. They liked playing the game. We had a lot of fun together, and I guess we had the enjoyment of the game, and it turned out on the ice, and we enjoyed it when we were winning, and we did a lot of that at the time.
I think they downplayed themselves a fair bit, but it's kind of funny when Jerry said that was the best team we'd ever put on the ice. It's kind of scary. If we would have heard the video first, you'd have thought that was the best team, but I think they were being somewhat humble in their talking there. The 1969-70 Yorkton Senior Hockey Team won both the Saskatchewan Senior League Championships and the Provincial Senior Hockey Championships. The team went on to represent Saskatchewan in interprovincial play, bowing out in the quarterfinals to St. Boniface, Manitoba. This group of players was one of the many great senior teams to come out of Yorkton. Of particular interest is the fact that from 1967 to 72, this same club won 3 league titles and 4 provincial championships. In fact, about 75% of these players played during all 5 years of the powerful Terrier era. In 1970-71, the Western Allen Cup playoffs were hosted in Yorkton. The Terriers placed a respectable 3rd. This was the first time the tournament was held to determine the Western representative in the Allen Cup. The success of the team being inducted this year, as was the case with many other Terrier teams, was due to the combined efforts of the executive, managers, trainers, coaches, and of course the players. The talent and the tenacity of the team cannot be denied. The executive, along with the manager-coach, Jerry Bullets, had indeed put together a powerful, well-balanced team, averaging 25 years of age. Players included overage juniors who had completed university or college careers, former pro hockey players, and other local players with great hockey talents. The 1969-70 team placed 6 players in the top 10 scorers in the Saskatchewan League. Barry Ross once again won the scoring title. Jerry Hootie placed 3rd, Ken Schutz 4th, Merv Kerlick 7th, Reg Coles 8th, Terry Grindle 9th, and Jerry James was the most penalized player in the league. As a follow-up, It should be noted that many of this team's players continued to play for the Old Time Terrier Hockey Club after the Allen Cup disappeared and the Canadian Old Time Hockey Association was formed. The local team played in 11 national championships from 74 to 83, twice placing third. A number of players and executives from the team continue to this day to reside and make their living in Yorkton. At this time, I would like to call on coach-manager Jerry Bullets to be inducted into the Yorkton Sports Hall of Fame. You might not recognize this well-dressed man coming here, but he's being outfitted. Maybe you could turn around a little bit, Jerry. Being outfitted tonight wearing a black and taupe outfit by KW Menswear. Be careful with the jacket. It has to be back Monday morning. Don't say.
Thank you, Linda. Players represented tonight for the Yorkton Senior Hockey Club: Scott Preston, Steve Kazuki, Merv Kurlik, Reg Coles, Paul Josephson, Don Anderson, Jerry Hootie, Barry Ross, Terry Pollock, Rennie Berthollet, Doug Diltz, Doug Everett, Mark Welton, I have 5 other gentlemen we would like to acknowledge. One that had played goal for us and ended up damaging his knee and never played after that, Kenny Atkinson. Wilmer Ostapovich, who had been with us many years as trainer. Wilmer, if you want to come up. We have 3 of the executives that put the whole package together here, and we'd like to acknowledge them as players: Ron Skinner, Glenn Thorpe, and Bob Ribchester.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1969-70 Yorkton Terriers. We have a few others too. The Terriers, as Jerry said, certainly many made the team a success. Many others that were involved. Vern Pahal, please stand up. Jake Skilnick, Kerry Klein, Barry Sharp, scored 2 Stanley Cup winners, Mitro Presti. The Yorkton Terriers. Randy knows how to make a guy nervous. First of all, I have a duty to perform. And I'd like my son Dale, who came from Rochester, New York, New York State Police, just to come down here to the Sports Hall of Fame to see me and the rest of them get the honor. And we're bringing my wife up here for one reason. She had to put up with me because I often went swimming, I went golfing, and so I left her home all alone. She did a lot of my work, which I should have done, and she did it.
So with all that, I'd like to present her with some flowers and appreciation from Dale and myself for I certainly am not going to keep you here very long with this, with my speech here. It's not even a speech. Anyway, it starts off, it gives me great honor, pleasure to present the inductees. We thank Don Pfeiffer and his committee for accepting us to the Yorkton Sports Hall of Fame. Gail Williams, daughter of Don Harris, and John Loster, hope you're watching, and myself. Also, the Yorkton MAC volleyball team, which is, I want to thank Dennis Pomeroy for doing such a good job on his end of it, and the Terrier Senior Hockey team club, Coach Jerry Bullets, which I often see him down the golf course as well. And I want to thank Vern Pahal and his committee for creating the Yorkton Hall of Fame in 1994. Thanks again. And also to excuse me, I got a runny nose. Good excuse anyway. But anyway, hoping that the Hall of Fame will entice more younger and older athletes to participate a little harder and enter the Sports Hall of Fame. I thank you for all of the inductees and wish to see that there's a lot more and more people to patronize with the Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you.
He's taking challenges at the Agriplex pool beginning tomorrow. Anybody wants to do 100 laps, you're welcome to. We want to remind people, too, when you're leaving, if your table had any extras as far as the programs are concerned, Hall of Fame will take those back. They can always use those down at the hall. We also would like for media pictures with the teams. There's just an awful lot of people. If we could have representatives for Gail Harris, John Loster, Mike Bidnock, Dennis Pomeroy from the volleyball teams, and also Jerry Bullets from the hockey teams. And the teams, too. Well, then you talk to the media. I don't like dealing with them. On that note, thanks Culligan, because there's nothing better than Culligan water with rye. SAS Dry Cleaners, City of Yorkton, and Access Communications. Especially them for all the work they do at Access Communications to make sure we get all the videos and everything else done. On behalf of the Yorkton Sports Hall of Fame, I'd just like to wish you all a pleasant good night. Congratulations to all of those that have been inducted to the Hall of Fame. Get your autographs. Have a great night. We'll see you here next year. Thank you.